The buffet, it's gonna get finished. If you guys follow us, we've been talking about finishing this for like 3 weeks, but it was buried.
Yeah, we had to get it unburied. So follow along, we're gonna do some quick repairs and then we're gonna paint it with some Sweet Pickins milk paint.
And we're busting out the sprayer. We get asked about it a lot, so we're gonna talk to you all about spraying milk paint.
You can see here there's a bit of a gap there when I lift up on it, and look at all that movement. And it makes this whole thing pretty wobbly. I can't get the mirror off without taking this backing off because of the way the bracket system is set up. So we're gonna just pull this off, that way we don't damage the mirror. And then I don't have to worry about taping it off or scraping it later when we go to paint this. You can see how loose that is. So I can actually move the joint right here, but this nail in here is keeping that from coming apart. So what I did on that is I just worked this screwdriver until I had it underneath the head of the nail and popped it up a little bit until I could grab it with the pliers. Alright. This dowel here and this one was completely split off. Okay, so I'm going to start out by loading this up with some new glue. Work it all the way around. I'd rather have too much glue on this than not enough and have it come loose again. Real life here, Jamie is off at the dentist with the vehicle that has all of my ratchet straps in it. I can't find a single one in the shop. I tried to use my big Bessie clamp and it is not quite wide enough to get to the outside of this to clamp it. So without a ratchet strap or clamp, I'm going to show you my low-tech fix. This method is effective on table legs, it works on chairs, all sorts of stuff. Now, I'm not a very good Boy Scout. My dad is an old farmer and truck driver and he knows about 80,000 knots and different situations and things. I'm just going to attempt to put a little square knot in here. I want to get decent tension with the knot, but I'm not worried about it being super tight just yet. I just want to make sure that that's not going to come loose. Okay, so I've just got a little 1x2 scrap piece of wood and I'm going to take it in here and give it a little twist. Alright, now my rope is pretty tight right now. Okay, that is all the tension I need. This is that joint where the dowel was broken in half. I've got a 1/2 inch dowel and a drill bit. I'm going to go straight in through here and then re-dowel this. I'm going to squeeze quite a bit of glue into there. Whoa, too much glue. Twisting this around because I want that to get in there real nice and tight. So once this is dry, I'll just take a little bit of a saw, zip that off, putty it if I need to. I'm just using an 1.25" 18 gauge nail. So I got in looking at this close. It's been glued together at some point. It just wasn't lined up really great. Anytime I'm sanding on old pieces of furniture, I always wear my respirator. I never know what's underneath the paint or what it was painted with. Everywhere I've sanded now, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some shellac. This is just the Bullseye Zinsser shellac. We use this for blocking stains and fixing bleed through. Alright, all of the repairs are done, so I'm just going to take my makeshift ratchet strap off. Alright. And now we're going to paint.
We get asked a lot about how to mix up our paint, especially when we're going to spray it. The immersion blender is key. When you're not using a sprayer, you can mix it up using a whisk ball or shaking it, but when you're using it in the sprayer, you want to make sure all the chunks are smooth. We picked this up on Amazon for under $20 and it has definitely paid for itself over time just with the ease of use. So mixed up in my jar, I have 1 part milk paint, to 1 part warm water. And by 1 part, I mean whatever scoop size I use, then I use the same scoop amount in water, not necessarily in volume. A few people get confused with that, so I wanted to clarify. I also added about 1/5 of the extra bond that it calls for, just a little bit, so that way it adheres. If you put the full amount of extra bond that it calls for, you won't get any chipping at all.
Okay, so this is a critter sprayer. They run about $40 on Amazon. It comes with the glass pint jar. This is your siphon. It's made out of aluminum. It's great because it's a non-ferrous metal, as well as the brass nozzle is non-ferrous, and the milk paint doesn't stick quite as well to those. It still sticks to them, so you want to clean them right after. If I were to put milk paint in my HVLP sprayer, all the pieces inside of here are easily gummed up by the milk paint because it sticks so well to the regular metal. So there's a little nut with a spring so that it tensions when you adjust it where you want, and the airflow over the top is going to siphon that milk paint up out of there, or whatever you have. You can spray regular chalk paint and sealers and all kinds of stuff with this, but it works really well with milk paint. It's going to pull that up and then spray it out, and you can adjust the width of your spray just by changing this. If you're not getting a good siphon, you might need to turn this up or down so that that airflow is going over there just right to create a vacuum and pull it up out. To spray with the HVLP sprayer or the critter sprayer, a 30-gallon air compressor is optimum. You can get away with doing 8, but 30 is kind of where I would start if you want to do continuous spraying and do a lot of projects back to back.
Next, I'm going to be using my Orbital DeWalt sander and 220 sandpaper and my mask, so that way I don't inhale any dust. And I'm going to give it a good sanding, remove any loose paint, as well as smooth out the paint, and it will be ready to be sealed with wax. So I'm going to be sealing it with DIY clear wax. This piece came out pretty chippy, and anytime you have a really chippy milk paint piece, I don't suggest any kind of liquid top coat, whether it be oil wax or big top or Sweet Pickins top coat. All of those things could cause it to chip more than you'd like. So in this case, I'm using DIY clear wax and my Paint Pixie wax brush. And don't worry, we have a full video with all the ins and outs of waxing. Zeb will drop the link below. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. So you can pick up this wax along with the paint that we used at jamirayvintage.com. That's our website where we sell all of our DIY products. When I'm putting on my wax, I like to kind of circle it around so I can make sure I've got it nice and on there. Then I come back with my brush and just go along with my brush strokes to smooth it out. Once I'm to this point, I let it sit overnight and then I buff it smooth. Sometimes, especially on the high use areas like the top, I'll come back in a few hours, put on another coat of wax, and then buff it all in the morning. The buffet is finished. We've been kind of putting it off because it needed repairs. I find like that happens a lot. Things that don't need repairs get painted and done pretty quickly, but if we have to wait for Zeb to have time or we get around to it, it just takes a little bit longer. But they weren't too bad.
No, the repairs actually didn't take very long once I actually got to them. But, you know,
you have to get mentally motivated.
It's the getting to them among all the other things. It's like, oh, look at all this easy stuff. I'll just knock that out right now. And then the repairs get done 6 months later.
Definitely was rewarding. Buffets are hard to find here, so when I can find them at a reasonable price, I always pick them up to flip them. I love how chippy it came out. Milk paint can be super unpredictable, and so I always try to give you guys the best advice I can give you, but I can't promise you that if you do everything the same, that yours will look the same. It really depends what's the piece like before you get started. So this already had latex on it. I didn't know what else. So I definitely added a little bit of extra bond because I didn't want it to all chip off, and I lucked out. I got the right amount of chippy and crackle.
So on the repairs, the bottom is still, it's got like just a little bit of wiggle, but I'm not sure that this design didn't always have that. I mean, the glue is dry and it's what it is. It's a lot sturdier than it was, that's for sure.
I think it turned out beautiful. The products that we use today, you can pick up at jamirayvintage.com. We use Sweet Pickins and Sweetie Jane extra bond to make it stick because we weren't sure what was on it. We sealed it with clear wax. We used our Paint Pixie wax brush. We also used the Critter sprayer to spray the milk paint. We do not spray the milk paint with anything else. It's the only thing we found that works. We'll drop a link for the Critter sprayers in case you want to get one. And like I said, for everything else, hop on over to jamiray.vintage.com.
If you like this video, please share it.
Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Jami Ray Vintage for more
DIY.